Hey, what's up, everybody? Let me ask you a question. Have you ever felt a deep sense of responsibility to care for people around you, making sure that everyone feels good, supported, and secure? Or maybe you've longed for a sense of belonging, a place where you are valued for who you are and where there is mutual trust. And with that mutual trust comes stability. What if I told you that this urge to create harmony, family, and community and connection isn't just personal, but it's an energetic force designed to build lasting bonds in life, family, and business? Welcome to Successful, where I help ambitious founders, leaders, and coaches eliminate resistance and gain clarity in their decision making so they can take bold, aligned action without draining their energy or second guessing their decisions or themselves. Before we dive into Gate 37, make sure you check out my free training, Successful Signals, where I break down each unique human design strategy and type so you can align your energy and make decisions with confidence. The link is in the description below. All right. Today we are exploring Gate 37, which is the gate of community, also known as the gate of harmony, and also known as the gate of family in human design. So this energy carries the energy of family, of community, and agreements built on trust and reciprocity. I have this gate, and when I make agreements, I'm always looking for what's in it for me, or where's the bargain. I also have some other gates that deal with that, but particularly around family things. I'm always like, all right, if I do this for the family, what am I getting in return? But Gate 37 isn't just about emotional bonds. It's about how we create stability through mutual support and shared values. So let's dive into how Gate 37 influences your relationships, our sense of security, and the agreements that we make with others to build a life of connection and of trust. So Gate 37, the gate of community. In astrology, this is Pisces. In tarot, this is the Ten of Cups. In the I Ching, this is Jia, Ren, or the family. And the energy of this gate is all about the community, its emotional support, agreements, and trust. The location of this gate is in the solar plex and is reaching up towards the will center, or also known as the ego center. In essence, Gate 37 holds the energy of emotional security, connection, and the need for balance in our relationships. It also seeks to create harmony for us by ensuring that the agreements that we come to are fair, they're mutually beneficial, and that we get something out of the agreements. This gate is deeply tribal, meaning that its energy is focused on family, community, and shared emotional support versus more individual success. And people with this gate, like myself, often feel a strong responsibility to nurture and provide for others, but they also need clear agreements and reciprocation in return. I am what I call a work from home dad. So, I'm majority of my day with the family, waking up, cooking breakfast, making sure my son gets off to school or comes home from school, his nieces or his cousins, my niece, my nephew as well here, also take care of them, cooking for them. And so I've also just kind of always had this natural inclination to know what to do to take care of family. I've always wanted to be around when my kids were younger as part of me, just me being me who I am. But on the other side, it has to be that bargain that this gate is talking about. Particularly when it comes to, all right, I've done all these things now. What about the things that I want or I desire or my needs? Are they getting met? So I definitely feel this energy with me all the time, not just in this week. When this energy is active, it encourages cooperation, generosity, and the creation of stable emotional foundations in personal and professional relationships. So this week, as we're reflecting and meditating on this energy, we want to reflect on our role in our family and our community and looking at our dynamics within those relationships. Do we naturally just take on responsibility of providing emotional support or material support for our families? And we can also meditate on whether our relationships are in agreement with how we feel, are our agreements balanced, or are we giving too much, right? Or are we struggling to even receive the support that we need? So it may be two-sided. We may be giving too much, or we may be even asking for too much. So we may want to check in with ourselves to see if things are balanced. And also, we may want to ask ourselves what agreements or commitments in our life do we need to reevaluate to make sure things are fair and things are in harmony. One thing I'm doing this week in my relationship with my wife is looking at our agreements and our commitments to each other. And this is something well, I would say I've been asking for years, is for her to follow through on her commitments, but she doesn't necessarily have the design to do that. Most people aren't here to do that. We're talking about gate 37, which goes with with gate 40, and this channel connects to the heart center or the ego center. And those who do not have the ego center filled in on the charts may have a difficult time keeping to their commitments, or they may overpromise, which is something that I'm finding that my wife does. But for me, with a closed heart, I tend to stick to my commitments, and it's almost like a moral standing. I say all that because with K37, looking at our commitments to family, I can now see, okay, maybe there are some areas where even though my wife is overcommitting, maybe I should take it more with a grain of salt and check in with her again later just to make sure that she is okay with that commitment and that she can actually meet that commitment. Because there are times when we do overcommit. We tend to say we can do things for friends or family, where it may turn out that we don't have the energy or the capacity to do it. In shadow, this energy can express itself as overgiving and resentment. And we also may feel obligated to feel like we need to give to others or provide to others without receiving that equal support. And this can create dependency where people rely too heavily on us emotionally or financially for their security instead of really cultivating their own self sufficiency. In enlightenment, this energy can foster healthy agreements that emotionally nourish us, and they help build strong communities. And these communities are based on respect. And this is talking about communities as in, communities in like maybe your neighborhood, your city, but also any groups you're a part of, your church, your family, obviously, and even any sports teams that you may be a part of as part of that community that you're a part of. This energy also teaches us that true harmony comes from balanced relationships where both are giving and receiving, and that just flows naturally between the two entities. In human design, gate 37 is in the solar plex, so that is on the right side of your chart, and this gate is reaching up to the heart center or the ego center, and this making it a very or a deeply emotional gate. And because it's in the solar plex, it's going to require us to wait for clarity before we make agreements with this energy. We want to make sure we're not at the high or the low of our emotional waves before we make any agreements. It reaches towards the will center, and the will center governs commitment. It governs resources and personal integrity as well. And when we put these together, we get the channel of community, which is all about creating structured agreements that support the both emotional and material well-being of the tribe and the community. This is part of the tribal circuit. And so as part of the tribal circuit, that means this energy is deeply tied to family, loyalty, and ensuring the well-being of the collective. And it also represents the power of emotional agreements that create trust, stability, and shared responsibility. Our strategy for this gate, being that it is an emotional gate, and because it is in the solar plex, decisions and relationships agreements should be made after riding our emotional wave and waiting for clarity. So with that, this is a projected energy gate. And so This gate's energy is most effective when we align our desire for harmony and our agreements, and is recognized by being invited by others before we share our wisdom and our knowledge of this gate with others. You'll know that you have activated this energy when you feel a deep desire to nurture and support your community, support your friends, support your family, and your greater surroundings. And you also seek a fair and structured agreement. And this ensures that responsibilities and resources are shared equally. You recognize the power of emotional bonds and how they create security and stability in relationships that can help secure your family and your community. All right. So, the dark side of this energy in shadow, you may struggle with overgiving, feeling that you're emotionally drained or that your relationships are not in balance. And there can be really a difficulty receiving support, which, that leads you to burn out, leads you to be frustrated. You may even hear yourself saying, no one ever helps me or no one ever does anything around here. Well, that's because maybe you are over giving, over committing, and the situation is that you are not balanced with the community or within your family with the role that you've taken on. I could feel like that for sure at times, particularly having this gate, kind of feeling that, I'm the one doing a lot of certain area of things particularly with my son. And it gets late at night. My wife, she's tired, she's pooped. So there are times where these feelings do come up, but then I think to myself or think of the things that I am grateful for that I have my wife to do. One of the things is she's waking up early in the morning to get him ready for school. I'm not doing that. So there is a give and take and there is that balance. So if you are feeling frustrated around it, angry, bitter, depending on your strategy, take a step back and reflect on what other areas can I look at balance and where am I getting that give and take with this energy in this gate. You may also have feelings of guilt or obligations that may arise if you believe your worth is tied to what you provide for others. Things we can work on to transmute. We can shift our energy from overgiving and dependency to more of creating a balance in our agreements and our relationships, making sure we're getting something out of it. And, also we can learn to receive support without feeling guilty, knowing that the mutual exchange is going to strengthen our connections and we don't have to feel like we're only taking. It's an exchange. There's value going both ways, and that is what keeps the connection strong. Other things we can work on, we can strengthen our emotional awareness, and this will ensure that our relationships feel nourishing and not depleting. And we can also strengthen our ability to set and maintain our boundaries while still naturally honoring our desires to care for others and not having to feel like we're just giving up all of our energy from this gate. All right. So, how do we go about activating this energy? One, let's take a look at our agreements. Let's reassess our agreements. Take inventory of all your personal and your professional commitments, and do they feel fair? Are they balanced? And if not, what do we need to shift? What needs to move around? What needs to change in these relationships so that you can feel balanced and not drained by these relationships? And we can also practice receiving. If you feel like you naturally take on too much, or if you naturally take on the role of the provider or the caregiver, challenge yourself. Challenge yourself to accept support from others without feeling guilty. And then three, you got to communicate your needs. We have to communicate our needs, myself included, to ensure that our relationships are based on mutual respect and shared responsibility rather than silent expectations that we come up with in our head and don't tell anybody, particularly the person, community that we are in commune with. All right. So, what can we do to support ourselves additionally in this process? Well, we can read The Art of the Gathering by Pyra Parker. And this book is all about creating meaningful communities and setting intentional agreements. We can also work on or engage in breath work and meditation to help us process our emotional waves. And that meditation is going to help us gain clarity, before we make our commitments. All right. Gate 37, the gate of community, teaches us the importance of relationships, emotional security, and creating agreements based on trust. By embracing this energy, we can learn how to build strong communities, provide support without overextending ourselves, and create stability in both personal and professional relationships. That is it for Gate 37, the gate of community. Peace.